Hey, ladies and gents, just wanted to hop on here real quick. Before you hear this episode, um, just looking over my notes and I missed a thing that was pretty big to talk about within this year, and I think it would be wrong of me to not talk about it. It's the Supreme Court hearings. So, again, part of the year, things that happened in this year was the Supreme Court removing affirmative action from getting into college as far as it being based on race. Um, that's something to watch out for, guys. I don't even know how to say it. If they're able to mess with one thing, they're able to mess with a whole lot of things, and you have to be careful uh, which one might mess with you here. So, court ruled that race-conscious admissions policies at Harvard, this is from the New York Times, private institution, and at the University of North Carolina, a public institution, were unlawful. So again, they ruled that race conscience policy, so one based on someone's culture, ethnos, would be unlawful. Uh, Again, if you kept everybody out of schools to begin with and you didn't want people learning, when you do your restitution of that type of horror, which is why a lot of times everybody will come off that I'm smart, that I'm smart. You know what? One, I thank God for the knowledge that I've been given, for the brain I have to absorb it, for the mind, the understanding to see things, right? The other thing is, with knowing this kind of knowledge within my people, I will never stop learning. Because of the fact that they mess with people so much with knowledge and what is true and what is real and y'all should never stop learning, never stop reading, never stop seeking after the truth. Because they mean to do harm to you, and they do it with a smile on the face and a handshake while they got them fingers crossed. You know how you think you cross your fingers when you're saying something, but because you crossed your fingers behind your back, you don't really mean it. Yeah, you got a lot of that going on today. Got to be careful of it. So, another big one was, the Biden administration. It doesn't matter, really. Every president comes up with something here, but this one has to do with students' debt being canceled and Congress not authorizing it. So the House, so we got representatives, we got Democrats. Again, on this website here, through the New York Times, they give you percentages of who did what. I'm not really going to go into who did what because honestly, the idea is that, again, we're talking illusion here. We're talking illusion. When they want a thing done where they benefit from it, it's going to pass. That's in the story. That's in the story. When you realize that you had 5 different Emancipation Proclamations. I'm just going, again, Black History Month's coming, y'all, but we'll just drop this now. 5 different ones, not just one. It blew my mind when I found out about it, actually. Again, the whole idea was to keep the Union together, folks. They got into a war because they were mad at how they were going to make money without having to do any work and having a slave labor class in order to be able to do it for them. Okay? That's what the Civil War was about. It's a sham of a war, already concealing what they had done before, years prior. By it was 1776, you had to 1860. You ain't even gotten 100 years, and here they are having another bloody war because they won't work. Then you want to complain about kids today who don't want to work? Yeah, I know. It ruffles the feathers, but again, we're talking about talking the truth. See, when do you get away from this garbage? When do we get away from it? So, the student debt thing is a thing, y'all. I mean, you want to tell me certain things as far as how and the wheres and the whither tos and all these words. Okay, fine, but again, if you're going to strap down a whole group of people here, then complain about them being lazy. Again, this sounds just like a whole other generation prior all over again. It's too much. It's too much. You don't want to give up the money. You want to indoctrinate them with all kind of stuff that they're learning in school, because Lord knows they're not learning about the history of stuff. They got to go to everywhere else to learn it, because nobody want to teach history no more. Especially with the cat coming out of the bag the way it is now, nobody wants to learn about history anymore. The other one was written, and this gets tough, but we're gonna go ahead and say it. So we're gonna go ahead and say it. Religion, free speech, and homosexual rights. So this one had to do with, I believe this was a baker shop or a web designer. This was back in June. June was a hopping month, man. Let me tell you. June was a hopping month this year, man. The court ruled that a web designer has a First Amendment right to refuse. I'm not even going to get into the First Amendment. I'm not. I'm going to leave it up to, again, homework for y'all. First Amendment right to refuse to create sites for same-sex weddings despite a state law that prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation, regardless of what you think about homosexuality, heterosexuality, bisexuality, everything that deals with sex. Because again, they're going to say that stuff wasn't there. It has always been there. It's the stuff we're realizing. I know they're telling you something different. Again, we've already kind of established this with the Halloween episode, that the spirit realm that people know very little of. Another one is sex. Folks know very little about it because it's been hidden from them. It's a very powerful tool in this earth. You have had literally heaven and earth move because of it. People kill folks over sex, folks. There's power behind it. From the Creator, don't get me wrong. Improperly used by humans. This is another example, because if you do not believe a thing, that does not mean you stop somebody else from doing their thing. End of story. There is one judge of us all. We're talking about how life has been this whole time. Why we keep getting into trouble and repeating the same thing, the same failure over and over again this whole time. Somewhere along the line, it's got to stop. We're doing damage to ourselves. People who are homosexual going innocent down the street, and you get ticked off because you're looking at them holding hands or whatever, or came out of McDonald's with a burger or whatever you thinking in your wild imagination. What you did was whoop them, cuss at them, spit on them, whatever, kill them. Whatever it's got to stop, folks. Again, we want to always sit down at the table to make sure these laws and regulations are benefiting everybody. This one does not benefit no one who is homosexual. That is a problem. I'm sorry. Again, I'm not saying stuff to be popular. I am saying stuff to be helpful. And what is helpful is not always popular. We're doing damage by doing this. And again, everybody does have a thing to their own rights. You feel that it's wrong, should you be serving them? No, you shouldn't. But that doesn't mean now that you have as a whole thing now. Everywhere where it's blanket, you can't do this. We run into this with abortion. We ran into this last year with abortion. Again, you want to talk about having things set up so people are sexually responsible. They keep themselves from having excessive abortions. But that would deal with sexual responsibility, folks. That's not the negation of a thing. That's not the negation of something. And because you or I wouldn't do it doesn't mean that they and them wouldn't or can't. I'm gonna leave it right there, y'all, because again, it's just this little introductory thing. It went to 9-10 minutes, but again, this is where we're at here. Okay, so just wanted to hop on there before we get in there, because that was something I wanted to touch on too. So there we are. End of year again. Happy New Year, and we will talk to you guys soon. Good afternoon, ladies and gents, and welcome to the year in review. episode of A Different View. A little bit of a tongue twister there. Hope you guys are doing okay today. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday from wherever you guys might hear me. Definitely a shout out since we're here on the last day of the year, and a lot. I was re-looking back over my channel because again, we keep pace with ourselves. We keep pace with no one else. If that's anything that I can portray through doing this and an encouraging message, if you would, to the listeners here, you keep pace with no one else. It's you. It's you as the great designer and maker and fashion designer, if you will. I know folks got an issue with the gender thing, which we're gonna get into all that starting next year. Next year, 2024, guys, it's a good year. I know some people don't like to pay attention to numbers. Again, what do you believe? What do you choose to believe? Because we have been given choice to believe. Like I said on this platform, even though I'm Christian, guys, again, I've seen a thing that I think many Christians back away from most of the time. Because, and again, everyone is allowed to, so this is not going to come across as accusational. So it's another one of those things I got to get out of the way here, because the truth is, and I was thinking of this to myself today, so we're just going to start here as we talk about different events here at the end of 2023. The truth is offensive because a lie in itself is the opposite in nature. The truth itself. And you have to be careful in how you talk to folks, because again, you keep, there is a thing where you can go too far, clearly, as we have talked about in scripture. I know today's not Sunday, but it's close enough. Yeah, so we'll go with a few scriptures here and there. And I got my computer here, I got some water here with me. My voice is feeling a little bit better, guys. So for those of y'all said a prayer for me and such, thank you. I am on the mend. So if I do sound a little rough, hopefully it's not too much of a distraction through the conversation today. The truth is naturally offensive. Not because it is offensive. It is because of that which it attacks, or balances, I should say, which is a lie, or a mistruth, or an untruth. All these different words we use. So as a result, a lot of things are going to come across what I'm going to say here in the next couple of months. This is not an anti-Semitic thing. It's not a discriminatory thing in any way. We're not attacking anybody. Okay. I mean, if you are guilty, that's between you. That's between you and your God. Okay. That's between you and the Maker. For me, I know we're not here to judge, but we are here to point out things. Okay. The point of this is to point out and give different views on topics of life. So, all different topics of life. And that's what we mean to do. So, you've already heard me read that Ecclesiastes verse on time. So, we're not going to go in that. Obviously, we've established a fact from that verse and others in the Bible where it's, again, times of sowing and reaping, all that kind of thing. These are things that you can Google. Ecclesiastes, just it's clear, it's pointing it out, it's making it plain, which is why when people talk about confusion in the Bible, it's because too many people have messed with it. Because again, the words of the Creator, the more you guys start studying some of the stuff I'm talking about, you will realize this shockingly plain, simplistic truth is that the words of the Creator match. The words of the Creator match. What humans started messing with the scripture. That is a totally different thing. Totally different, unfortunately. And I know I'll get the flack from Christians and all this kinds of, I get it. I again, like I said, y'all, when you pay attention enough to the defenses and the excuses given, it becomes it becomes a broken record after a while. So we get it. Okay. People gonna have a different view, and that's fine. So hence the title of the podcast here. But the Bible is playing on time here, and here is another one, because Again, I want to put to bed this idea of time and what people are putting the importance on time. And in reality, it really ain't that thing. So, 2 Peter chapter 3. Just going to read a couple of verses, nothing crazy. So, again, guys, keep your keep the thinking cap on here. Walk with me a little bit here. And we will get through this. So, this second epistle, beloved, I now write unto you, in both, or again, both is italicized, so in which I stir up your pure minds by way of remembrance. So we stop right here because this is a good plug for the podcast. And what do we say? Repetition is good for learning, is necessary for learning. Again, sometimes you just have to stir up yourself in your mind. I think too many people, again, the Bible talks about renewing the mind. This is all this type of thought process. You have got to come away from what a lot of people are telling you, because honestly, it's full of fluff. Whether it has to do with money, whether it has to do with power, whether it has to do with power over certain abilities like sex, acceptance, all that kind of stuff, which then would kind of pour into power a little bit because it's influence and where you can see, like, guys, all that stuff is fleeting. It buys you what, 70, 80 years of cover down here at to whose expense, though? See, and that's a lot of this stuff here we're gonna get into in this year, from different genres of things that happen in this year. Like it's not, it ain't worth it, y'all. It's never been worth it. Our grandparents, great, 4 times removed parent, it hurts everybody. The idea that the kids don't, and we're gonna get into this in the Valentine's Day episode, but this idea that the kids don't pay the price for what their parents do is silly. I'm sorry, y'all. It's silly. You are affected in so many ways by your parents' lack of stuff. And these things need to be told to kids, not to be judgmental of your parents, to be helpful to them. See, again, I know how they talk to you. I know how they've talked to us. I was there. I learned in the same tree as many of y'all. Understand that the thought was incomplete. It was incomplete because they either learned it incompletely or they twisted it, one of the two. This is a team effort, folks. And yes, there's times of coaching, but there's also times of letting the players play, folks. I don't know. Oh, man, you can't coach them 24/7. You can guide them through while they're playing. But Lord. And one of the ways you do it, by stirring up your mind in remembrance, or by way of remembrance. Second verse. That ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before the holy prophets, and of the commandment of us the apostles of the Lord, our Lord and Savior, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days. Now, we just talked, I think, episode before I lost my voice, about the love of the great body of people growing cold, the love of many waxing cold, as it's said in the King James Version. This idea that lost my train of thought there. This idea that what is the end, and trying to predict the end, and actually what is the beginning of the end. And Jesus clearly says that a lot of these things, and wars and rumors of wars and all that kind of thing, it's the beginning of the end. It's not the end yet. So just something to put on the plate. You can again, nothing here is spooky and scaring folks and all that kind of thing. We're just talking about the facts, folks, okay? Especially for those on here who are Christian, those who aren't, who believe in something or believe in anything like a Ragnarok and Valhalla and all that kind of, guys, this is this is a thing, okay? You think you're seeing the end. The end's not there yet. It's not. It's the beginning of things. There's a beginning and then there's an end to things. So you're going to see scoffers in these last days. You're going to see people constantly. Matter of fact, we got the computer here. We got some time. I still got some voice left. Oh boy. So let's just do a thing here. Definition of the word scoff. This is I just want to let y'all know. In my life, just in this, of course, in this search for truth and having my eyes open to a lot of things. Excuse me. Get a little bit of liquid lubrication there to help with the voice. You realize that, I've now started to see a thing or two to the point where, whoa, something's a little wrong here. And that was tough to do for me as far as, that's why when people talk about deconstruction, Lord, they don't really know what they're talking about. They think they do. While they're stoning Stephen, you know how many times people's own people took him out? See, that's not anti-Semitic, folks. That's the truth. They stoned. I understand what they believed and all that kind of thing. They were stoning their own people. Off a law they thought was the truth. And they were wrong. It's why in the beginning of the New Testament you hear God talking to Peter, saying to stop calling what I've cleansed unclean. We are only looking through a real foggy lens. That's taking up another verse there. You gotta. Before we go too far and we keep hurting people, gotta be careful. So this word scorn or scoff. Let's see. A person who mocks. This is coming from dictionary.com. A person who mocks or makes fun of someone or something. I'm not going into etymology of the word and all that kind of thing. Again, we said we'd like to leave. I'd like to leave some homework for folks. So we're gonna leave that homework there for you. Okay, so walking after, this is the end of verse 3, walking after their own lust. Let me read through this here a little bit. And saying, where is the promise of his coming? You got a whole lot of people who keep challenging this thing with God and blaming God for things and stuff. Again, we're blaming God for the things we're doing. We're the ones who are being stubborn. That's not, okay? We're the ones that are taking the guns that are supposed to be protecting ourselves and shooting them with them. And again, the Bible doubled down on this thought by saying, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you, the sword is just one way of defending yourself, okay? just input from the sword, any other thing. We got to realize what we're doing here, y'all. It is damaging. We're damaging society. We're not helping. And the great creator has put in a really cool recycling plan on life and allows it to operate, and that is death. I know for those who have lost some dear loved ones, including myself, rest in peace to my mother and my father, okay? I got grandparents that have died just the same as anybody else, okay? Friends, family. See, but the idea here, folks, is not that part that, he's making fun of death. No, it is cherish life. And you start doing it by watching out for scoffers, watching out for people who are walking after their own lusts. We're going to get into the word lust when we get to the sex portion, which will not be for the babies, by the way. We will continue to reiterate, because I know how social media stuff goes. I know how it goes, y'all. So we will, the sex portion is not going to be for the babies. It's for the grown folks, for the men and the women and the men, and everybody in between. Because it is time, if you want to have successful relationships here, we need to get over the silly schoolgirl, schoolboy laughing, giggling when we talk about things. That, like, it's too much. It's too much. Excuse me. So, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as from the beginning of creation. The they were is italicized there, so it actually makes more sense without those words there. For this is they, for this they willingly are ignorant of. See, people who are sitting there laughing and joking and making fun of homosexual people and, oh, it's so funny, he, she, and they are willingly ignorant of it. Yeah, I know I put in two things there that folks aren't all right with as far as Christianity goes and other beliefs of the world. I get it. But again, guys, we've been called to respect. We've been called to operate in peace. That would mean not joining in on these folks who like to scoff and laugh at folks, walking after their own imbalanced desires, because that's what lust deals with. Again, we'll get into the word more later. All things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. And that's the end of verse 4. Willingly, what they willingly are ignorant of, that by the words of God, the word of God, the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water. It's cool how the Bible lets you know here the complexity of creation. Because again, people's mindset has been formed and shaped by what someone else is telling them. And we're telling you specifically, it's a greater design than what you're being told here. Verse 6, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word of God, they just say same word, but word of God, are kept in store, reserved, or basically preserved, unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. Again, there's a beginning and there's an end. I think that part of it's already been established. So this is the part that Christians that we keep listen there. Now I will reference it from this standpoint on this platform, because I do not negate nor neglect the fact that there is an end, just like there was a beginning, as far as this reality goes, and that you will pay or be rewarded for the good that you do. That happens consistently, like every day you wake up and go to sleep, and also when you draw life's last breath. That's on this platform. Everybody don't have to agree, which is okay. That's why this is called A Different View. But the heaven and the reserved unto fire and against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. But beloved, be not ignorant. This is the key. I did all this reading for this verse. There's just good stuff along the way there. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, or of this thing. So of all I just read, catch this. That one day with the Lord. Again, the is italicized. One day with the Lord as 1,000 years. And 1,000 years as one day. So analogies in the Bible are heavy. Yes. Also, there is some very serious primary, secondary, sometimes tertiary truths when you read verses. Folks don't really look at it that way because they got time to preach their agenda or their thought process. Again, being driven after, as this verse passage is talking about, their own lusts. Again, imbalanced desires when you see that word. And you got to be careful. What we're listening to, what we watch, what's going on, and we're going to get into it. So, take another sip of the water there. 50 years of hip hop. That happened this year. 50 years of hip hop. Again, me being black on this platform, guys, I'm not going to, or as I like to say, of African descent. Again, we understand the word black was made up. This is just a thing, guys. I get it. I get it. This is sometimes where the ears turn off. But again, if you want to learn, if you really truly say you want to grow, this is the part where the foot meets. This is where the foot meets the road. This is where the pedal to the metal. You know what I mean? This is the peanut butter to the jelly. I don't I don't know how else to saying it. I did the peanut butter thing because the guy was black. Anyway, this is just what it is, guys. So, starting in the early 70s, 1973, by Caribbean and African, aka black folk. They kind of, again, nobody is really giving distinction to folks of the darker skin tones, so we just name them all black. And to balance that act, what they did was then named all the white folks white. The problem was they made sure that they took away the ability to find the history of these various tribes. That's why, as far as natives go, little side note here, when you're dealing with some of these things, I'm going to drop throughout next year. So just, again, things you can check. So you've got recognized tribes with native people, and they just leave it at that. The thoughts got to come up in the mind, what about the ones that were unrecognized? You read a lot of historical documents, you got dark people all over the place. I mean, it's kind of silly at this point to discredit that. So why don't we know these different people? Could I be one of those people? Could one of your friends or relatives be one of those people? You'd have no clue. Know why? Because they messed with the records that we're finding out later. That's why when they talk about TikTok being a national security issue, no, it's not. Here's another thing going, because again, we're going into 2024. Like, I didn't do the election. I'm not, the election day thing, I'm going to let stay quiet next year, because again, too much noise and people aren't listening. So we're going to do the call to justice way before that. Okay. Again, what folks do with that information is on you, just like it's on me to do what I do with the information. But at the very least, we're going to be that person talking about it. So those of black descent originated in New York, Bronx, and Brooklyn. Again, but a New York born and bred, as little phrase goes. So shout out to the boogie down. 5 boroughs, all of that, man. That's my home. Those are my stomping grounds. I have family from there. Got family in multiple places in the United States, but it's a real thing. So it was defined by some elements. So when you hear songs, hip hop songs, rap songs, as they call it, with rappers, really lyricists, rhyme artists. Because again, this is what they're doing, Unfortunately, little side note, as far as gangster hip hop is concerned, while I get the hard element, and you want to put that hard element and this is the same call to country music, by the way. See, again, you're getting into culture here, so you got to talk about the cultures. Not only where those so-called, we'll say it that way, so-called black people need to realize how much they need ownership in what they're doing. While they have these record labels and all these kinds of things, guys, if you ever do a study on their deals and on how they get their contracts, lately with another thing that kind of spurred that on with me were these strikes. So we'll kind of chop up 3 different things at once here. We shouldn't look down on those strikes, guys. Whether it was acting, whether it's cars, what are some of the other ones? Again, you have shopping, consuming, so retail. Okay. The worker is paramount, guys. Under the current system, it's not just the owners working. Okay, the workers are there working, and they are due their fair due, and more than so. See, the idea here is to take numbers and facts. See, the idea is to twist. You twist holy notions thereby taking from people. And what would be some of the things, the perks you're supposed to have, the rights you're supposed to have, the rest you're supposed to have if you're a Christian, work in any private or public sector job. See, other than the, not sleeping with the coworker and all that kind of thing, guys, right? We kind of got that part down. Again, we're talking about Bible verses that say where you're supposed to profit. Your words are supposed to build you profit. Jesus came for you to have life and to have it more abundantly. See, somewhere along the line, we go out of balance one way or the other. We either do this over profit, like where you have the prosperity message and folks throwing checks at steps as altars and spending their money wrongly to ministries not giving back to them. And it's not just through the speech. We mean you get all this money. Where are the supermarkets? Where are the schools? Where are the banks? Huh? This is a real thing, guys. Some of these beloved places where we go to worship, they are pulling down a lot of money that in reality, whole towns were built around churches. Go back in history and look at it. When you got stuff going to the church at Ephesus or different places like that, like whole towns were around these things. With Christmas, you had the emperor trying to push Christianity, so he mixed their own celebration with Christianity. That with Christmas, the Christian, the Christ's birth, and the celebration that they had around the Roman god Saturn, they mixed the two together. It's right there historically proven. Again, that does not mean that the story of Christ's birth is pagan, nor does it mean that the different way, again, the word they're using, pagan, when they say that someone doing something that's not accepted by the accepted norm religion, which again, Abrahamic faiths would all be one of them. The stepchild that gets abused the most is Islam. But again, the Abrahamic faiths are all three, which are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But we can only hold high two of them. See, again, you have to realize how far off, folks. You got to see the play. People play Madden. There's another thought that came to me a little earlier today. Like people play the video game Madden. I understand everybody listening right now don't, but bear with me for a second. You're able to, when to shift your linebacker going. It's the same thing you see in football with John Madden, right? So I'm talking about Madden, the video game. The commentator, John Madden, is who started that whole thing with EA Sports way back when. Just backstory for those who may be older and don't pay attention. But anyway, excuse me a second. So now you have, he's writing on the thing with Pat Summerall, and they're doing the broadcast, and there you see the X goes with the O here, and then you wishbone over there, and then he throws the pass down in, and so that same kind of thing where you're seeing the play. Life is the same way, folks. There are certain things that happen, and then this occurs every time. When it comes to this thing of music, ownership, especially when you're seeing streaming and all that kind of thing, guys, because you got artists. See, way back in the day, artists had to really struggle to be heard. It's easier now with social media, way easier. Artists back in the day like LL Cool J and, the group Run DMC, even Mary J. Blige. Gosh, man, I mean, it goes on and on. The Wu-Tang Clan back in the day. Because, everything started to really pick up by the 90s. Of course, you had gangster hip-hop and stuff like that, which, gangster hip-hop really caused the problem because it magnified the violence, which is no different than being out here in the country and constantly talking about all the dysfunction of who's leaving you and cheating on you. You know why? Because both of them mismatched. They're one side of a same coin. They don't want y'all around, yet they use you and siphon as much from you and then discard you. That's how. It's not that hard to see. And we need to band together to protect ourselves from that stuff, folks. Again, this is why I stop getting mad at these kids today. Why would you put yourself under that kind of burden? There's no way you would want to put yourself under that kind of burden. And it's time for older people to start recognizing that was the garbage they were going through back then. Yeah, they worked hard, and there is a value to working hard, but understand that they twisted the holy law of working hard and applying yourself to make sure they squeezed you dry like a sponge and threw you away on the back end. And that is not what, again, when you're talking Christianity now, when you're talking belief, when you're talking Buddhism, when you're talking and believing in Confucius, when you're talking Islam and Judaism, the underlying thing of these religions has nothing to do with treating your neighbor horrible like that. Bible talks about love working no ill to their neighbor. Being the fulfilling of the laws. Like, what are we talking about, guys? Ownership and things like that is important. I'm sorry. And you got people that are putting in the work. They have a right to truly benefit from their work. They are the originators of their own profit. So, I mean, just in those three things there really alone, stuff that has changed the industry, because, you know, acting, which is a genre that's gone back as long as time has began, you know, the acting strike was necessary. That SAG strike was necessary. The UAW deal here against Ford and General Motors and Stellantis. These guys actually got contracts for the stuff they want, guys. This isn't a spooky thing. We're talking about business here, y'all. If one group is benefiting and another group is helping that same group benefit, then you benefit. That's, you know, there's not a lot of what you call it, you know. So some of the elements, real quick, just a basic hip hop lesson, nothing deep. You'd have the MC, who is the master of ceremonies. People probably heard that before with weddings and stuff. That's the person they call the rapper. Again, I like saying lyricist. They're a rhymer. Okay, and same deal. You have the DJ, which is the, you know, person with the two turntables, everything with DJ, and now especially electronically as it has been real popular. Back then you were mixing records, the actual vinyl discs. So that's a whole thing in of itself. With scratching and stuff like that, that's where you get the you know, that's where you get all these sounds from. So you got breakdancing was involved when the hip hop song came on back in the day. When you go back real late 70s, which technically really bled over into the 80s. So, you know, like 78, 79, 80, and so on. And you also had, yeah, everybody singing the song, you know, the rhyme was different, sounds different than it does now, it's still rhyming though. And the content was way better than what they're talking about now, because how many different times can you talk about a woman's backside? Let's see, a woman's backside, how much money you can make and what car you're in. When you compare hip hop back in the day to talking about police brutality. I put up a picture here that I saw on Instagram, which was so powerful, which was a black police officer, so-called black police officer, protecting someone who either was a criminal or wasn't, who was black, from so-called white police officers. And just, you know, everybody looked like it was in a courtroom kind of thing. See, look, folks, guilty or not. See, we do this thing for like El Guapo, and see, we pick and play what we want to do. It's time to stop that mess. You guys see that there's wrong going, you know, we see wrong going on, man. It's time to speak up. This is the stuff God counts to us as righteousness. This is where it meets the road, folks. And then you'd see graffiti. Graffiti was pretty big. Again, just spray painting art, I know. Some of that is illegal. Probably less of it needs to be illegal unless you're really seriously doing damage to property. Again, there is a difference. Then you're just using a side wall nobody's looking at. And you putting up some art, and then you make up a law of that because we don't want anybody to have any fun around here. Or where it's someone actually vandalizing by spray painting on someone's car, things of that nature. Okay, so we get it. Again, there's the interpretation of the law, which Lord knows the interpretation is pretty bad. Just about right up there with the different versions of the Bible they have made. Another one I got on here is the Jonathan Majors thing. Of course, the subject there is domestic violence. What you cost yourself with profit when you get involved in domestic violence. This goes for men and women. Sorry, this goes for men or women. Of course, we know men have led the forefront of this. I get it, because again, we're starting to deal a little bit in sexism, and I understand all the defenses that are built up around it. However, understand men have been at the forefront of this thing. We did it improperly, and we did it by cutting off our own profit, because again, no different than you cutting off other cultures of people. You do the same thing with gender, the two genders. I'm sorry. All female led or all male led ain't gonna work. Know why? Because God said it's not good for people to be alone. I understand everybody more a little bit. That says the man. Yeah. A man's a person, right? The last I checked, man, a man is still a person. See, we gotta be careful at doing this separation thing. Not in that way. Not in that way. I'm sorry. A house divided against itself won't stand. You keep doing this. Hey, y'all. Folks can go on what they want. I'm just saying. We're going biblical now. This isn't in my own mind here. So yeah, there's a cost and a price to pay. We hope everything kind of gets right here, because we're not, wrong is wrong, and the punishment needs to be dealt out. I'm not saying, see, again, folks, kind of like that thing there, what I was talking to y'all about, the kid getting sucker punched at that wrestling event. We're not talking about you doing wrong, getting away with it. Most of the stuff I talk on my podcast is the penalty for doing wrong. We're not. We are talking about, you must be careful and use proper judgment. That's it. That's it. Because it's going to cost you if you don't. A lot of unrest in Africa this year. I know a lot of people weren't paying attention to it because, again, you are trained to not have global glasses on. You're only trained to have the nation you're in's glasses on. In certain nations, certain places, they pay attention. So a lot of unrest, Burkina Faso, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Niger, to name some states there. We pray for peace all over the world. Specifically, again, we're talking specific in generalizing speech, specifically for Africa. I pray peace over there. You know what I mean? What's going on over in Israel and Palestine is a shame. Just to get on these two wars real quick. You got the continuation of one from last year still going on with Russia and Ukraine. But of course, this ongoing violence that is unnecessary with Israel and Palestine. See, I don't even, there's no side to take because it's family. You don't take the side of your mom or your daddy when they're fighting like that. It's family. There's wrong on both sides. That's fine. There's family. See, and greed causes you to forget about the family element. Greed takes many forms in a family. Again, we're kind of bleeding over into the, I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to leave it right there because we're bleeding over into a different episode. This possession thing is dangerous, folks. We're down here to share. You will have something, okay? Something that you call your own, as they say. But you got to be careful owning that which is owned by someone else, and that is the great designer. That is God above. You start acting like you are that one which owns, it's a problem. Again, we're stewards down here of the things given to us, but we are not the sole. You gotta be, again, because you can go too far. You can go too far. So yeah, peace, as as the phrase goes, I'm not even going to use it because it's silly. And we turn something that's very serious into a joke. But peace over with the Semitic people of the world, with those who live in the middle, what they call the middle part of the world, which is funny sometimes just as a thought. I wonder if that's where Tolkien got his idea from Middle East to Middle Earth. For those who pay attention to The Hobbit and that whole book series, again, y'all, I got my comment box open. Those who know me, you can find me online. Let me know if I'm wrong on that Lord of the Rings thing or anything that comes to mind that you want me to talk on, anything like that. Because again, this is about affecting change. So, yeah, just leave the comments and we'll go from there. You had a big old banking collapse, so let's get into that real quick, because people need to really start paying attention to their money. Again, you're making them profit, so you ought to be profiting. And when you don't, yeah. But we're just going to do this real quick. Banking crisis, which resulted in the collapse of numerous American regional banks, as well as the buyout of Credit, looks like Suisse, I don't really know how to say that, my apologies, by UBS in Switzerland. Among the American banks, two largest banks which collapsed were the Silicon Valley one and the First Republic Bank. The third and second largest banking collapses in U.S. history, respectively. So, I'm reading right from Wikipedia when you type in 2023. This is some of the stuff here that comes up about this year. Excuse me. You got to be careful, like the 2008 thing. See, guys, you got to understand the economy has always been frail. I know we're talking about the defenses that people are telling you. See, because they're scared to lose something, so they're going to tell you it's not that bad. Okay. Which again, we're not supposed to be lying to each other. So we're dealing like, you look at the dollar amount. This is another thing, one of these things you can type in. Type in how much the dollar has grown since 1776. I clearly can't type the word grown here. So, and what you will find, they may give you a percentage here, because let's see. So now this is from officialdata.org on U.S. inflation. Okay. There is another article I'm looking through Microsoft Bing. Yeah, this is the same thing. So the dollar had an average inflation rate of 1.5% per year between 1776 and today, producing a cumulative price increase. Again, all they're doing is they're combining all of the years and just giving you an increase, really not that much, when it's only 1%, folks. Barely 2%. The increase on the dollar is barely 2%. This means that today's prices are, well, they're just saying it from that route, 35.36 as high as average prices since 1776. What it looks like, yeah, an increase of $36.40. So that's another thing here that I'm looking right on the other side, right connected on Microsoft Bing. It's got this value of the thing. Now that's coming from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Yeah. So if you had $1 in 1776, it'd be worth approximately $36 today. That's how much The dollar has gone up in 240 some odd years. Guys, while they need you, they don't need you, because again, that's why I say they really don't need they can that's why they don't have a problem saying how replaceable you are. Okay? They've been using credit for a while. So that's 1776. See, they bankrupted themselves by doing all this garbage they were doing. Plus, they didn't want to work at all. And by the days, we've gone over who they are. Okay, we're talking about Europe playing God here on a very sick level, and using everything necessary to exact their ends, which is crazy. It's crazy. $36. We're doing all this stuff, and the dollar don't even really mean anything. Now, see, again, you go have economists and stuff like this come out and divert the other way from just the cold hard truth, because they'll plug in this number and say, "Oh, well, yeah, it's this, but did you know?" Blah 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 blah. See, again, it's consistent tricknology. It's taking the truth of a thing, twisting it, and then spinning it to something else. And because we are on such shaky ground, guys, you got to start thinking about owning stuff for yourself. It's all well and good to do the job thing and work, but you take that money and you start putting it and investing it in you, because the jobs you're working for are not investing in you. You're investing in them. And unfortunately, the way the business model is, their form of investing back in you is poor. And they defend that thing to the death. So let's see. You got WHO, the World Health Organization, ending the declaration of COVID-19. Very horrible virus. Okay, and we've talked about it before in an episode, so I'm not going to go back over. But very horrible virus. So they downgraded it from the declaration of being a global health emergency, but still calling it a pandemic, which, I mean, it is still an issue. Okay. A lot of fires this year. A lot of big fires this year. So you had the one over in Canada that you could see the smoke from New York. That was back in June. And all of the some things with life, this kind of thing happens. This kind of thing happens. Let me see if I can find another note here. I don't think I had it. I think I had it when I was looking at the yes, I do have it. So Maui, Hawaii, excuse me. That was the other huge fire this year. Huge fire. That was in August. About $5 billion in damages. And when you go back over that story, it's a shame how much. See, we can give so much aid to war, but see, again, war is the moneymaker. That's why they had that thing going for 20 years in Afghanistan, folks. Come on. Again, I'm not saying, coming from being a New Yorker, I'm not saying the events of 2001 were not heinous. They were. And I didn't have a podcast back then. Which two in a way is good, two in a way isn't good, because I had things to say then, but you gain wisdom as you get older. So it comes across better on the back end. Or it can. Not always, but it can. So you just know. 20 years? Yeah, no, you got to fight back for your defense and all that kind of thing. And again, when you're talking about immigration here, see, and they don't have a problem shoving in all these different immigrants. And I have no problem with people, see again, and nobody else should, because everybody got a house or something locked down from their greats, as I say, coming here and benefiting as groups of people, were held down. We get it. You go down into Mexico, you realize that California and Texas and Colorado, Arizona, I don't know if y'all know this, but all that stuff was Mexican. All that was Mexico that we call now. Well, we call Mexico in the border, and they're coming over and arrest them on site. All that silly stuff we were talking about an episode or so ago. Yeah. Yeah, all part of it. You go read about the annexation of Texas. There's some horrible stuff, man, that has gone on in the name of greed in this planet, specifically on the North American continent. It's wild. It is wild. So yeah, bunch of fires. That Hawaii one there, man. I mean, again, if we can roll out billions of dollars, no problem, to wars, to stop violence, then to repair damages would be the same thing. So I get it. What people will say, again, it is what it is. Movies this year. So I really do think when you're talking about the Marvel thing, I'm a Marvel fan. I'm a comic book fan. Okay, grew up with it. We grew up with what they call the Trinity. So the Justice League, superheroes, DC Comics. So you got your Batman. If y'all didn't know, now you know. Star Wars, you've heard me reference a bunch of times. Okay, so we got the Skywalker thing. We've mentioned it. We'll probably mention it more. And of course, Marvel. Now, Marvel, some of it I'm learning as I'm going, and some of it, because it is changing from when I was a kid, not bad. Okay, so it's this is the other thing, is people have a problem growing and transitioning and changing. If you're paying attention, the history of comic books, again, art imitates life. And when you're Xing out one group of people from being in the comic books, guess who you're not going to see, folks? That includes men with women, by the way. So, like, shout out to Wonder Woman and Cheetah and Black Widow, She-Hulk, all that kind of thing, which is funny because I'll lead into this year's Marvel's TV shows with She-Hulk. There are certain things that needed to be seen, guys. We need to see women in the forefront, okay? I get it. I understand with the masculine thing and all that type. I get it. It's time to see him at the forefront. We have been at the front long enough. We are a team. So if you got women there, you got Fred Astaire dancing and stuff like that. We can see the women dancing too, guys. Just robbing a phrase from dance, because dance is another thing I like. Dealing with a person that was lost this year. Was Lynn Goodman. We got a few minutes here, and we'll try to wrap this up here. Lynn Goodman passed. I like Dancing with the Stars. Good TV show, solid show. Of course, a bunch of people that I recognize, because I do pay attention to, with as much as I watch movies and everything like that, I do pay attention to a lot of these different celebrities and such. So nothing crazy, because again, life is lived in balance. I do have other things to do than just track down somebody else's life or trying to build my own. But at the same time, I still won't. I don't stop myself from not paying attention, giving serious attention. So, especially if I'm going to speak on the thing. So yeah, Lynn Goodman, very good judge on Dancing with the Stars. So, just a little plug there as far as dancing goes between Fred Astaire and the many great dancers in dance history. But yeah, some of these movies were necessary this year, guys. With Marvel, of course, you had Ms. Marvel, you had She-Hulk. I understand a lot of stuff came under critique, but again, I learned a lot. Learning about the partition was necessary for me. Knowing that World War II was a sham for people to continue to keep taking land is see, again, you got to stop. We got to stop building the narrative we've been building, because it's not helping us. You're holding down other peoples and groups of people that could be giving us profit. It's not helping us. Watching Secret Invasion, as much as it's malaligned for its production and stuff like that, and how it could have told the story even more, there's still some good elements there. Again, I think Samuel L. Jackson did a very good job. The other supporting actresses there did a really good job. It was sad to see. Well, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but Secret Invasion was good. She-Hulk was good. Miss Marvel was good. Loki was amazing. Again, there's a penalty you pay for playing with time, and what we really have to do to fix it. That's just the truth. With the movies, I had no problem with the Marvels. I understand it was a bust. I get the whole thing. They didn't make their money and all of this. But again, I'm looking at storyline, guys. When I listen to music, I'm listening to lyrics. So I can like a song that's not popular, but it's popular to me because it's got good lyrics to it. See, I don't, and it's fine for what everybody else does. I will constantly say that. It's fine. I just don't. I don't. Not always. So, um, again, women at the forefront was good. I want to say WandaVision was this year. It might have been last year. WandaVision was good. If we hadn't talked about it, now I've talked about it. People building their own realities because they can't deal with their current reality is a problem. Literally, what you have today in life is that for a reason. Because people cannot deal with their own stuff. Another couple big movies here. Barbie. I again what I because again my own masculine mental bias got in the way. So you're thinking a movie is going to be a thing that it wasn't. And it was done good. Good message. Again, you don't own women, folks. Oh man, fellas, I hate to tell you, and it's a shot to the ego because again, you've been taught a certain way. We don't own. We don't own. We share life together. We do not own. And every time we have made a mistake, when we think we own, we don't own. We have a place inside the home, just as the woman and the children. Or if you don't have children, just you and your spouse, same thing. Okay? But at the end of the day, the base element is teamwork. You can't do it alone. It changes the game a lot. It puts a lot of things in perspective. Oppenheimer was very good. Again, people messing around with life and the elements that God has put in the earth and the damage that we do as a result. And that Nagasaki, Hiroshima stuff was garbage. There was, again, you have a 20-year war. You have a 20-year war with Osama and whatever else that mess was, right? You doing all that, because again, it was a whole lot of other stuff behind the scenes than just justice. See, I know it's hard for people to see because it's what's been put in front of their face. Study the backstories of things to get a whole view. And it's right on you. You know, it takes some time to do some studying, but we do a whole lot of stuff that take time. We can switch that out for something else. Or while we're doing something else. It's important to see the truth of a thing at this point. We've been, for the person who's 20 something and it just gets worse and worse. See, for me in my life, you going 40 years in, man, I realize a lot of this stuff is bogus, man. A lot of this stuff is bogus. So I'm good. Of course, everybody keeps talking about global warming. Global warming's a thing, still a thing. Different articles online as far as dealing with how warm it's getting. So it's not a not issue. It's an issue. The movie Wish. I understand people have an issue with the movie Wish. I did not. Again, power is coming from within you. I do not see that as a non-Christian element because they didn't repeat Jesus 4 times in the movie. We have to get past that. Okay, to actually look at the real, which is no one controls somebody else's dreams and wishes and goals and desires. That's one, the creator. So if you're going to say that's an anti-Christian thing, that's where you come from as far as the anti-Christian thing and not the people recognizing there is power in them to overcome an evil overlord, if you will. There is a total difference. A total difference. So there's that element of it. Again, we've had some popular deaths this year. Let me see if I can find it for y'all. Let's see. This is probably where, let's see, we're in and around an hour here, so we're gonna wrap it up right here. And then we'll go from there. Let's see. So you just go to people.com. Okay. Some of these folks are not gonna go through, honestly, because I don't know them. No disrespect to any of these people. It's just certain ones that I want to hit, and then we'll go on from there. Certain people that I know. Again, if there's other ones that you know, then, we go with it. We go with it. So, excuse me. Richard Mall. Richard Mall, I remember, was an actor from the Night Court TV show back in the 80s, or it might have been late 90s, or early 90s, excuse me. But really big, really good show. Let's see. So, and to all these people, definitely, that they might rest in peace. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot. It's a lot living life, no matter what generation. I understand a lot of people have done wrong, because that'll be the next question. Oh, KJ, what about the people who murdered folks and all that? So this is stuff people do this kind of stuff, which honestly, it doesn't even really it doesn't credit an answer, because we're asking the question almost like being very facetious. And that's just, again, you're told to forgive. It comes with a balance. Okay, it comes with a balance. So even though you're forgiving people, right, as far as not forgetting to the part where, again, because you're letting go of the damage in which they did to you. That's the part of the forgive there. Okay, that obviously you're not discrediting the fact that the thing didn't happen. You're not discrediting that part of it. Okay, the thing still happened, and whether or not credit or repair has to be done for what was wrong, that's not the part of forgive. Forgive is where you're dealing with, it's not hurting me. I'm not going to let it hurt me anymore. But between me and you, I've let that part go. It's okay. We're okay. That's where that's coming from. Next one of these folks here is Matthew Perry. So Matthew Perry was big. And again, folks dealing with just all types of abuse, whether it's alcoholic abuse, whatever it is, man. I mean, we saw Joan Rivers pass a couple of years ago, where it just had to deal with constantly having to do cosmetic surgery on yourself and having images of yourself different than what you see yourself in the mirror, and whether or not you can be okay with it. It's just tragic stuff. Where the heart goes out. We got to be another thing going into next year that's going to be big is this idea of love, folks. And of course, you got Valentine's Day right there. Stay tuned for that episode. It's going to be fun. The more we keep going into it, it looks like it's going to be a 3-part episode, because there will be 3 episodes to the topic, because it's that big. So definitely look out for that one next year, y'all. There's a couple of these people like that, where this idea of empathy needs to be at work. Suzanne Summers, she passed this year in October. Those probably remember her for her Thigh Master thing. For those before that, I actually remember her on the TV show Three's Company, of which I do remember on the back end of it. I caught a lot of reruns and such. That's how the 80s and the 90s were. The shows either were ending, and you got, the weird variations of the TV shows toward the end. That's how you got introduced, or you watch the reruns of it when it first came out. That's how TV was for us 80s babies. You got Ducky, for those who like NCIS, David McCallum. Good actor. He passed away. Again, I like NCIS. I like everything about it. Getting more and more into understanding about military design and work, and thought process and such, you start understanding a thing. Start seeing a thing. Again, in order to understand what's going on in the world around you, you have to go back to the beginning. And when you go back in the beginning of this nation, you've got the military. When you go back into world history and how people just protect themselves in general, because again, we always stop at the U.S., but it's part of the globe. So when you look at global history, how militaries even affect certain thought processes in this one here, you just start to really understand the thing. So, yeah, definitely. And in talking about a year in review, as far as a year in review of the topics that I've had, again, and we say it wholeheartedly, shout out to the military. Okay, folks who believe in true defense of love and truth and justice from things that mean to rob it. That same sentiment goes toward police. There are those who have issues all across the board, and it's about love and respect, folks. It's about love and respect. So you got Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett just passed. Great singer. You know, again, New York born and bred. So, you know, Ms. Gaga has done some songs with him as well. So, again, that's, you know, Tony Bennett. You also had Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens. Paul Rubens passed this year. I know a lot of people have some issues with him, and deservedly so, okay? Go listen, they ain't got no beef with me with that. There's some stuff here where, again, just because people need help, don't, you know, if that was the case, folks wouldn't listen to, like, you know, 95% of rock and roll, because a lot of these guys had some issues, man. A lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, a lot of girls. I think if we're gonna be holier than thou on one, let's not cut out them all, okay? We're just gonna put it out there. We just putting it out there. See, again, we're talking about balance here. So again, Pee Wee Herman passed. Steve Hartwell. So this was lead singer at the time of Smash Mouth. So if you watched the movie Shrek, if you lived in the 90s and 2000s, all that kind of thing, we know about Smash Mouth. So I mean, that's just the thing. That's just the thing. And again, we wish nothing but the best. Let's see if we can find something here for a second. Yeah, band was formed in '94. Still goes on without Mr. Harwell, but still a big thing. Ron Cephas Jones. I like the TV show This Is Us. I've never had the real chance of talking about it. You want to understand about family dynamic. I get it. A lot of people don't like to get in tune with their emotions. To be a more balanced person, it is necessary. We're just going to put that out on the table again. You take it for what you want. Ron Cephas Jones. So, real cool. Brother played a real good role in that TV show. As the father to one of the 3 kids, actually an adoptive kid in the TV show. So real big. So, you know, there's that part of it. Of course, there's Jimmy Buffett. So, you know, for those that appreciate rock and roll, soft rock, pop, whatever genre you want to put Jimmy Buffett in. He did pass. So, you know, Bob Barker. Okay. If you grew up, again, 80s, 90s, you know, come on down. You're the next contestant. So, you know, that's just the truth of the thing. So, Sinead O'Connor, she was a big one this year. There's a lot that I had to talk about on that one because she dealt with very serious issues. Mental health is a thing, folks. And instead of making fun of people, we need to start getting involved in their lives. Let's stop using the excuse about what help they won't receive, and let's be more focused on giving them help. Okay? That's it. This idea of pointing fingers is not helping. It's not helping the scenario at all. So that's something to consider there. So, you know, very sad death there with Sinead. Many artists, you know, went to comment about it. So, I mean, there's that part of it. Let us see. We'll keep on going. The Iron Sheik. Again, I am a big old wrestling fan. I remember the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan's matches. So, you know, for me, that's a big one. For most folks, this next one's going to be big. She's at number 50 on people's list, and that is Miss Tina Turner. For black folk, it's going to mean one thing. For white folks, it's going to mean another thing. For people who love rock and roll, it's going to mean a big thing. Either way, because again, what happens is that we stop doing the divide thing and we look to the genre. And those who have given to the genre, this gives me a chance to talk about this because I didn't have a chance to talk about it before. So it's about giving people's credit where credit is due. If you go back into Lizzo, so in music, one of the people that started off the beginning of this year was Lizzo with the song "Bout Damn Time," because in reality, it's about damn time. So we'll try to keep it, not too colorful on the language there. Depending on how y'all look at the word damn. And Tina Turner is just as, if not more so, to a generation of rock and roll, especially when you're dealing with black people who are not allowed in rock and roll and X'd out from it like many things back in the period of the 40s, 50s, 20s, 30s, because again, rock has an extensive history in different forms when you talk to music historians and such. So she really pushed the pace, same way Lizzo does, in a different form. I know people are going to talk about the weight thing with Lizzo. Granted, okay, but we're talking about freedom to be you, which has been the issue because you have sexism and racism that run rampant throughout society and in people's minds because they think they own someone you don't own. Again, you don't own anybody. We share experiences down here. So, shout out one time for the queen of rock and roll, Ray Stevenson. Ray Stevenson was another one. I liked the TV show Ahsoka. I know certain folks had an issue with it. It was shocking, and people have seen Ray Stevenson in other TV shows. Again, for me, it's Ahsoka. Yeah, guys, it was. It's rough when we lose these talents. They affect our lives. They really do. And I know we don't look at it that way because we've been bred in this us versus them and the wrong us versus them. But that's besides the point. If you're going to say it that way, again, I understand people go crazy with the violence thing. What we're saying is you have to recognize who the actual enemy is, and in this case, it's greed. Anytime you're excluded from a group where everybody can profit, greed is involved. It's got nothing to do with discipline. It's got nothing to do with any of the silly things that people tell you. Yeah, that person was doing wrong, which is why you don't want them in the group. That's the truth. You either don't want to share, you don't want the spotlight, all different kinds of reasons. It just is what it is. It's an unfortunate thing of life, and one of which we need to stop making excuses for. Just tell the truth. Jim Brown. Oh, leading into this whole thing about giving credit to folks, Jim Brown playing on the Browns back in the time where, again, we don't want them black folk. I'm sorry. But again, your prophet, guess what? He helped your prophet, didn't he? Helped put the NFL on his back, literally, as a running back, and helped solidify that which is the great sport of American football. Again, it's truly time to give credit to where credit is due and drop a lot of this stuff. Folks won't even have to waste that time because you would have been giving credit the whole time. Jerry Springer. I don't even know how much to say about Mr. Springer, which was the former mayor of Cincinnati, by the way. Again, for those in their mind, we're talking about Jerry Springer, you do a Jerry chant, whether in your car or your office, wherever you might be. Again, the aforementioned Lynn Goodman. So Lynn was pretty big. Lance Reddick, that was one of the, I guess, office people, if you want to say, the front deskman in the movie John Wick. So, and of course, he's been in other things. People may know him from other things there, but, rest in peace to these folks. Two of the next ones here we're going to go because they kind of go simultaneous. Bobby Caldwell and Burt Bacharach. So if you're a person who likes jazz, if you like smooth music, as they say, those people really mean something. Those people really mean something. So there's not enough of that music, unfortunately, because we've gone to the EDM phase, which nothing to it. It's just a missing genre there. So you got those folks. Let's see here. Let's just finish up here. Let's see if we got anybody else yet. Bobby Hull, famous hockey player. He passed. Lisa Loring, big. She was Wednesday, so we've seen that TV show on Netflix, Wednesday. She was the original Wednesday Addams on the 60s TV show. So she passed this year. You've got Mr. Crosby, David Crosby, I should say, from Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Lisa Marie Presley. I know for as many folks, Madeline, Elvis and such, and Lisa Marie and all that kind of thing. But again, she passed and such. So let's see. I think that might be Fred White from Earth, Wind, and Fire. So rest in peace to Fred White. And I do believe, yep. That was the last one there. So we're going to end with this real quick because I know I've gone here a little bit, finding these different people here. Next year, like every year, is critical. Appreciate those that come into your life and those who go. So that is a year in review, y'all. I do hope you enjoyed this time together with me here. I hope we learned something. I hope y'all are geared up for 2024. Again, I believe a lot of good stuff, as they say in church, will happen for those in 2024 as we stay diligent, as we continue learning, as we continue loving, and as we continue to defend those who can't defend themselves. So that's what I got for y'all today. Happy 2023. And I hope y'all have a happy new year and a happy 2024. And as always, look to find the beauty in a different view.